Right, good evening guys. So just an update on this fuel issue that I'm having with the vaporisation. Obviously last night I showed you it with the temperature gauge showing you just how much the fuel increase in temperature between the tank there and the carburetor. Now last night it was 40 at this end and up to 75 at that end. I've now got it to the point where it's now reading 40 I think all the way through, which is really good. What I've just done as well is something occurred to me this morning and I couldn't fathom out for the life of me how on earth you're supposed to keep the fuel in the carburetor cool enough not to vaporise and cause the issue if you've got a cooling circuit running 85 degrees running through it. So what I've done is I've bypassed it altogether, and if you now stop and touch this carburetor with your bare hand, you can now do it without burning yourself. The only issue is when you stop, say, and it sits there idling, you've got this fan here that's, well, in a driving situation it's obviously buzzing away about 3,000 4,000 RPM, just spinning away. So obviously it's pushing good airflow across everything, and it's pushing all the hot air away from this, keeping that nice and cool with the nice fresh air. However, in traffic, or when you stop and it just sits on idle, there isn't that airflow, and then it does start, you can tell on idle it's starting to run a bit lumpy. So I'm not sure if this stuff here is doing anything at all, because as I say, it still starts to do a little bit on idle, but you can see a little bit of bubbling here, just about there. But whether or not that's actually because it's vaporising in here and it's just pushing its way back there, quite possible, because I did give it a quick test when I first stopped, and between here and here the most it got to was 45. So it does tell you that we have improved it quite a fair bit by taking the carburetor out of the cooling system, because you've now not got 85 degrees running its way up here and basically boiling this entire top half. The top of the air filter is still getting rather hot, but I think that's acceptable given the fact that it's at the very top end of the engine bay, and if you think all that hot air is going to be sitting right at the top here, and even if you've got all the cold, what does heat do? It rises. So it's going to be sitting all up here, and that's just going to get hot as a result. So yeah, so this is a temporary idea, and the reason why the tape is on there is because, as I've just discovered, obviously the exhaust manifold and the inlet manifold on this are bolted together and then bolted to the head, so they're not individual pieces put in separate places, and therefore the heat from the exhaust rises straight to here. And I can tell you for a fact that even now that it's turned off, look, that is still running at 90 degrees. When it's running, that can be up to 115, and the exhaust is still at 106, and that can run anything north of 150. So all that heat there, and the carburetor is now running itself nice and cold nicely because of the fact that we've got these two heat spacers, which are working absolutely brilliant as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, supposed to be taking this for a bit of a run on Saturday. All I can say is at the moment, I would like to try and get a longer run in, maybe 20 miles worth, just so I can get an idea as just how it's going to behave on a long distance run, because obviously I don't want to be miles from home and vaporisation causing absolute headache. So yeah, but at the moment at least it seems that if you're on the move and you've got good airflow, it's okay, because obviously the carb's kept not as cool as it can be. You do still get a little bit of vaporisation, because I went for a few miles and found that was bubbling away a little bit, but I suppose it's when it does it in excess that it causes the problem. So yeah, hopefully I can take it for a bit of a nicer run between now and Saturday and see what it does. So yeah, just one of the pitfalls of the classic car, and sometimes you have to become a bit of a mad scientist to try and get your head around how to adjust classic cars to modern motoring conditions, basically. So yeah, because obviously modern cars are designed for what's modernly available, like the petrol and the oil, etc. So these obviously run the old thicker oil, and obviously we've just got to try and work out how to adapt this to work with more modern fuel that doesn't quite like heat as much. So yeah, right, I hope you enjoyed the instalment. If obviously if you want to watch a bit more, then subscribe and follow, and have a look through the channel and you'll see all the other bits and bobs that have been done on the car. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this instalment, and see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye. Right, so I've taken the car for a test run tonight based on what I did last night, which was bypass the carburetor water circuit, because water circuit runs at 85 degrees with the rest of the cooling system. So I thought, well, if we try and make the car run cooler, then having an 85 degree cooling circuit at the bottom isn't going to help much, because the heat from that is just going to straight up into the rest of it. So taking that out of the equation, and the carburetor does seem to run cooler, but we still seem to be having the problem with the petrol going into it being a little bit too hot, despite being inside that heat reflecting tubing. So I think depending on how we go, I think there's two options that I could try, in fact three, one of which I'm thinking about maybe making a heat shield that goes across the top of the manifold and put the reflective tape on the underside of it. Idea being to hopefully maybe try and reflect the heat away from it, maybe. The other two ideas, vitalise the cooling circuit on the base of the carburetor and make it its very own cooling system to keep the carburetor itself cool, or where the petrol is still getting hot despite being in that heatproof tubing, figure out a way to have some kind of cooler between the fuel pump and the carburetor. That means that when it gets to the carburetor, it's as cold as it can be, because obviously if it's nice and cold it can't vaporise. So yeah, that's the thoughts going through my head at the moment. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's a matter of just see, I suppose. So yeah, but that's the update for now. Hopefully I'll give you a bit more news soon. Thanks for watching.